And I'm kicking it back off. Welcome back to Ramblings. It's been almost a year since I recorded and posted anything. And a lot's happened since then because it's been literally almost a year. My hair is longer. You can't really tell because it's all tied up. I wear more gold than I do silver now. What else? It's my last year of university this year. Then I graduate, which is awesome for so many reasons, especially just because last year was crazy busy, which was a huge reason I stopped recording and posting these. But yeah, now I'm back, and I realized that I low-key ignored everyone, not on purpose. I low-key ignored everyone who was like, hey, when are you gonna post your next thing? I was like, oh, eventually. And they're like, we really liked when you talked while you did your laundry, blah blah blah, and then we could do it along with you and listen. And, I just got really busy, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm back, and I have decided to give Ramblings a little bit of a revamp, just to make it more inspiring for me, and which in turn helps it become a practice that I can then sustain a bit better. So Ramblings, before, I used to bring a lot of opinions and topics that were very well researched, but I kind of didn't want to do that much preparation every time, and I kind of realized that I wanted this to be more about things that were already on the top of my head and I could just ramble about because it gives it that conversational feel. So I decided that Ramblings will be more about my personal experiences, such as my faith, my childhood, my culture, family and friends, or my personal preferences, like the sort of media that I like to watch, and then just give like a brief overview and how I see myself in that media. Just the more personalized and intra-personal things about my life, as opposed to all the thinking stuff, which leaves space for my Substack, which is where I publish my essays and poetry and public journal entries, if you could call them that. I'm just gonna making Ramblings a lot more personal and conversational. Substack can now be dedicated to more of my literary and intellectual pursuits. Some examples I've written down here: watchdog / opinion editorials, essays on a variety of topics, which some of you have probably already read. Longer media analysis and critique, writing on theology and ideology, or theology versus other ideologies, and bibliographies of sorts on books and essays, just kind of doing a collection of books and articles on different topics that I think would be really resourceful for others who are interested in the same sort of topics that I am. So Ramblings is now just purely a podcast where I ramble, and you can put this on to fold your laundry or clean your room or make and drink coffee too. It's a lot easier on the ears. You don't have to think that much unless you want to, which is always welcome. You know, I'm pro intellectualism here and pro critical thinking, but we also do want this to be like a fun, personal, comfortable space. So that's the revamp, and with that, the new schedule plan will be a lot more flexible than every week, which is what I think I was trying to do, but that wasn't realistic, clearly. So every 2 to 3 weeks on either Wednesday, Thursday, actually every 2 to 3 weeks on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, depending on when I can film, because I still have classes and rehearsals, guys. So yes. On the poll on my Instagram story, I realized that careers I've considered was a very strong contender for this topic. So that's going to be the topic for the next podcast episode, and I literally already have I already have my notes on the careers here, so trust it's going to be up so you guys can hear about that as well. And as for books I've read in the last month, it was also really popular with like the people who voted for that were the people who regularly ask me for book reviews and book recommendations anyway, so I've decided I will just post about it on my Instagram at the end of each month, because at the end of each month I usually do a whole like media like catalog, like I catalog all the media that I've consumed in the month and then review them lightheartedly on my Substack, but I'll do in-depth book reviews on my Instagram. So now everything kind of has its own place of where it can go. Yes, so I'm free to pursue different aspects of my interests and hobbies and pursuits in different areas of my life. Now, on to the topic. The title of this is Speaking the Unspoken Love, How to Love Your Friends Whimsically and Sustainably. So I'm not surprised that this was the most popular option, because a lot of people that I've been talking to lately have been really interested in this, which is I wouldn't necessarily say contrary to, but I would say it's a little bit different to what I heard a lot of growing up, because while I was growing up, romantic love and marriage was a lot more popular, very popular topic of conversation that I heard everywhere in my life, from sermons or conferences, Bible study, advice from older people in my life, speculative advice from people closer to my age or younger, like the questions like, how do I love someone in a romantic context, how to keep that spark alive, how to care for someone consistently. And by the time I could finally access the internet for myself without inhibitions, like these questions I was just bombarded. I still am today. It's just that I've allowed, like with less access to the internet that I've now put on, I don't get bombarded as much, but it's still there when I do open Instagram Reels, and then you see all the what are good date ideas, how to start dating someone, what do you like how do you romance someone after a year, 2 years, 10 years, etc. Because of my personal faith, my personal convictions, and every experience I've had in my life, I've concluded that for a healthy, wealthy life, romantic relationships are not necessary. Friendships are non-negotiable. I'll repeat that again because I literally have it bold on my document. For a healthy, wealthy life, romantic relationships are not necessary. Friendships are non-negotiable. There are a lot of reasons for why they're non-negotiable. Obviously, the biggest one being that humans are social creatures. Like, we need to have community. But friendships specifically, they're very personalized and personable to each individual. And a bunch of reasons why I think they're non-negotiable for social creatures like us are friendships are there to keep you in check, to help you and support you physically, practically, emotionally, financially, etc., to share experiences and make memories you otherwise wouldn't have without them, to work towards shared life goals, dreams, projects, etc., to make up your chosen family, to show you different perspectives on life, and for you to give you the opportunity to be a good friend who contributes to their community. And there could be so many other reasons I haven't touched on, but these are the main ones that I know are quite big when it comes to what we think about friendships and what we want them to look like. One of my favorite authors of all time, Bell Hooks, wrote a book called Communion, The Female Search for Love, and in it she says, deep abiding friendships are the place where many women know lasting love. I love that quote because it's definitely true for me. Romantic relationships have come and gone, but my friendships with women, specifically in my life, have been some of the most nourishing and lasting, and where I actually learned how to love instead of these romantic relationships. Disclaimer, it's not just only for women. I'm aware that men can also know lasting love and deep abiding friendships. I'm just aware that men have probably not learned as much as women have collectively, like on how to foster friendships that are actually emotionally and practically enriching. It doesn't come as whether because they're not taught that as much, or I'd like to think it's innate in every single one of us to seek out deep connections, but I guess because of the way that society is, it is harder for men to have those conversations and have those interactions that become consistent enough to become a deep abiding friendship. But that's why I've made this guide, because hey, look, regardless of your gender or just anything about you, I've found some pearls of wisdom in my life and in what I've read and in the lives of so many wonderful people around me, especially those who are older who have given me advice on friendships and how to keep them alive. I've been able to compile a general list of things that certainly help me to love my friends whimsically and sustainably, and they might help you. So the formula that I put was whimsy plus sustainability equals the ideal friendship. Whimsy is what I would use to encompass keeping the spark alive, just as much as in romantic relationships. You need to keep things interesting. You need to still want to be interested in the other person. You still want to have adventure, spontaneity. You want to have that fun factor. You want to have that sweet factor. You want to have that let's go get a treat and treat ourselves factor. But you also need to have sustainability, which is the part where you care consistently. You can't just be carefree, because over time, you can't just be carefree in your friendships, because over time it ends up being careless. You need to care consistently about your friends. You need to show up for them even when they may not necessarily feel like it, even when you might not necessarily feel like it. If you're having a bad day, if they're having a bad day, if there's some crazy life changes happening, that's when we need friends a lot. It may not be when we want friends around a lot, and that's valid and understandable, but we still definitely do need those connections to fall back on and to depend on. That's why I say whimsy plus sustainability equals the ideal friendship. And I have a few pointers that I've typed out that I feel like I've been able to utilize really well, and all of these are malleable to fit you and what kind of friend you want to be and how you want to show being a friend to your friends and what kind of friends you want to have. These are all malleable. These are just guidelines. They are not end all be all, and the point is to see how far you can go with these guidelines, not just stay where I've set them. So number one, I like to call it a friend map. So a friend map is how you map out who your friend is and who they are in your life. It's basically just to get to know the people that you call friends better. Ask so many more questions than you think you should be. Like, get nosy about them. Chances are, if you like them, they like you too. In friendships, I hope that feeling of friendliness is reciprocated, so you're able to do this first step of asking questions. They can be chaotic, they can be deep, they can be intentional, etc. Any question that comes to mind, no matter how silly. Obviously, there's a time and place for things to be silly or things to be deep or whatever. But asking questions is a really, really good first step to start. Those questions will often answer why you're friends in the first place. Like, do you have shared life goals, shared priorities, shared interest, hobbies? Did you meet through a class on something that you really liked? Did you meet through work? Do you have the same background or culture? Are you in the same mutual circles? Usually I find that it's harder to get to the deep point of friendships if you're banking on the fact that you are in mutual circles or in the same job. Like, you actually have to be intentional about how you approach your friendship with them as a person, because you don't want to just keep it convenient. You want to actually, these are usually friends that you want to ask more questions about, even if you're constantly around them, because chances are you're only seeing them in the context of other people or a shared goal, rather than a shared goal that isn't even like a personal goal. It could just be like a work or career thing. You want to keep things interesting. And then think about levels in friendship on your and theirs. I will say that I do not think about this as high effort / low effort actions or behaviors or attitudes in friendship. We cannot think about effort being low or high. Effort is effort in a friendship, and if you're not ready to put in the effort for a friendship, you're not ready for a friendship, period. Relationships with people take work. They're not things that you can just have one day and then throw them away the next. If it's not working for you, if something's not working, you need to talk about it. You need to communicate. You need to hear them out. You need to understand their side. You need to be able to bridge the gap and compromise, etc., etc., etc. This is not a guide on how to do that. I can make a podcast about that eventually, about conflict resolution, but it's quite a heavy topic and I have very strong opinions about it, so I don't know how soon that will be. But this is like a preface for the rest of the thing. Please stop now and think about your life and your values and priorities if you think that at any point I should be saying something about putting in less effort, or in fact I think we could all put in more effort. So you know what, higher effort should be the way to go. Now that that's done, levels in friendship on your end and theirs, these can often be measured, not so much as measured, but you can see them as high or low capacity. Like, rather than thinking about it as effort, let's think about it as capacity, because sometimes we may be at 70% capacity to care for our friend, other times we may be at 30% capacity, and those could look like you could have high financial capacity to help your friend who is needing financial help, but when they need like a long hug or a long cuddle or whatever, you are at 10% capacity on touch, just for example. And so you need to be aware of, and this change is different from person to person, as well as circumstance, as well as intimacy level to intimacy level, which is why I also put here, do you have high / low intimacy? And intimacy is a thing that can, unlike capacity, it doesn't go up and down like this, because that's something that can change. The point of this is to maintain consistency regardless of your capacity for being able to care for someone. High, low maintenance, usually it tends to go like that. Like, you get the point of loving your friend whimsically and sustainably is that your intimacy will deepen and go higher. But yeah, you do want to be aware of where you're at, because one friend's level of intimacy may be totally different to another friend that you have within the same friend group too. And of course, make a friend map for yourself, because you are your oldest friend. You've been with yourself the longest. Know your strengths, your weaknesses, your interests, your hobbies, your short-term and long-term plans, dreams, goals, your lifestyle priorities, your favorites, your not favorites, your icks, if you will, your green flags, your red flags, etc. You should also be aware of these. With the friend map, I think some of you may be asking the question, like, do you write a literal friend map? No, I don't. But I do have a literal friend map for myself, because if you're the kind of person that wants to remember things and detail things and visualize things, actually doing friend maps for your closest circle would really help. Making friend profiles and because it helps you have that information about that person, because guys, knowledge is power, and it's definitely important in friendship, in any kind of relationships, but especially friendships. You want to know your friends. You want to get comfortable and familiar with their friend maps. Now that once you've got your friend maps, it's time to explore that map. Something that I've journaled on that I really like is, you love the big picture by paying attention to the little details. It calls to mind that quote from Lady Bird where she's talking to, I think, Sister Sarah Joan about applying for university, and Sister Sarah Joan calls her out on the way she writes about Sacramento, I think is where she lives. If I'm wrong, I feel so bad, because Lady Bird's one of my favorite movies, but she says, "It sounds like you love this place," and Lady Bird's like, "I think I was just paying attention," and Sister Sarah Joan goes, "Don't you think that they are the same thing, love and attention?" And I definitely think that's true for how you love a friend, because you can only love the big picture if you pay attention to the little details. And by little details, I mean the little things about them. You can start with the information you know about them. How do they like to be loved? Example given, love languages. I prefer thinking about a really great way to frame love languages is, it's easy to know how you want to receive love, but I personally see love as a thing to give and not to receive inherently. And I think we could all put in more effort at knowing our friends' love languages and really speaking them, as opposed to just thinking about me, and how I like to be loved. And another thing is, what do they like to talk about? What comes out of their mouth when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're upset? When our friends complain about things, there's usually a recurring trend. Do you pay attention to those things? Do you know the tea? Do you know the stories that? Do you pay attention to the things they say? And it can start to shape what they often need help with. That, a lot of times you notice that people don't ask for help, and it's an epidemic, and we really should get better at it, because we all need help one way or another. But what do you know that your friend often needs help with? How they like to be loved, what they love to talk about, and what they often need help with and often won't tell you. Those are really easy places to start loving and caring for your friend, because you've got that knowledge and you can just apply it in person. The better you get at this, you can start anticipating and doing guesswork. Spoiler alert, if you are scared about getting that souvenir for your friend that you're worried they may or may not like, chances are they're going to appreciate it far more than you initially think. They're first going to appreciate it because it's from you, and you took the time to be thoughtful and care about this person and use the information that you knew about them to guess if they would like something else that's building upon given circumstance. I'm such a drama student for me, given circumstance, but it's true. You're now filling in the blanks of the map, and that's awesome. You're adding more detail to it. How I think about it is, you've got the golden rule as the baseline, right? The golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. The easiest way to elevate a friendship is by turning it platinum. You shower them in love the way you want to be showered in love. I'll use examples from my own life to explain this. I love receiving gifts and words of affirmation, because for me it's a really easy way to understand how thoughtful someone is, or the ways that they show thoughtfulness towards me. So I've learned to love giving words and gifts even more than receiving. So examples of lower capacity ways I show love through gifts and words of affirmation together, by the way, because you can combine love languages. It's so cool. Lower capacity, actions to do that you can do more of because they're lower capacity are short notes, messages like, I thought of you today, how are you doing? Phone calls, book or music recommendations, or sending reels. These are all pretty low-key ways to do it that you can do pretty often. They don't require as much of you when you can't be at that capacity. And higher capacity, which means that I do these at fewer instances, but I love doing them when I can. And I'm trying to make these more happen more for people that I love, such as long letters, birthday / holiday / occasion cards, arts and crafts, speeches, poems, playlists. These you definitely do need to be at like a higher capacity to be able to do these, but I think knowing specifics and practical ways, like write down a list of specific and practical ways you love to be loved, not just how you want to be treated by people in general, but how you want to be loved and how you want to be cared for and how you want to be shown that you're special, and turn that into practical, simple steps. And you can separate them into lower capacity, higher capacity, just a list of ways that you can show other people that you love them based on what you know about yourself, about how you like to be loved and how you like to be treated especially. Definitely focus more on little things that you can do for them regularly. Little things done consistently and regularly always trumps making big gestures or planning hangouts that are like far into the future that you do once in a blue moon, you know? Obviously there are exceptions when your friends live far away and you only see them once in a blue moon, but even then, keeping in touch. I know as a generation it's really hard for us to reply instantly and have that connection, but the surest death of a friendship is not staying in touch even at the capacity limit that you're at. There is always something you can do and that you can push your energy a little bit more for just to be able to connect with someone. There's always something you can do, I promise. I would like to say that all of us who are watching this have phones. You can just send a text, ask how they're doing. It's okay if they don't respond instantly, they'll respond at some point. Or if you're those kind of friends, give them a call, see how they're doing. There is literally no excuse for not staying in touch, and it doesn't have to be every day either. I just, like as I said, it's personalized to you and to that friend. It's different for every friendship that you have, but you know when you're not staying in touch. You know for a fact when you're not taking care of that friendship, and you need to respond to that feeling when you feel it. And now that we've thought about exploring the map, let's think outside the map. What other ways are there to show your friends you love them? So now we're stepping outside of our comfort zone, and I'm still at the point where I'm pushing the pocket a little bit more of the comfort zone. There are some people whose maps I still haven't fully explored, and that's okay because you can come back to it. And when you think outside the map, you always need to visit home base eventually. But lately in my life, I've started to realize that people do actually really appreciate the things that we do for them, and it's really our minds that just tell us that they don't, and they're preempting it. We're like, our minds preempt the rejection. The rejection isn't even there. And it happens so often, but we need to kill that. We need to be able to push the pocket a bit more on that, and love is taking a step forward as well and saying, let's try this new thing out. Have an example here. Explore a different love language. Maybe it's not yours, but it could be theirs, and you may not even know. And love is an action towards someone else. And I could talk for ages about how the love you put out there returns back to you, but right now I really want to focus on taking ownership of exploring someone else's love languages, and find practical ways to do that. Don't just be like, oh yeah, I did it once and I'm not gonna try it again. No, make it consistent. If it's their love language, it's how they want to be loved. You know, you want to, it's elevating, treat others how you want to be treated. It's now treat someone else how you know they should be treated and how you know they would like to be treated, you know? This is a huge one I wrote down, allow your friendship to grow and take shape. Don't try to conserve anything about yourself with the other person, but remain consistent in how much you love them. I wrote this down because, like, when people start to push the pocket of comfort zones and explore outside of the friend maps that they built, suddenly there's an expansion on who you are and who the other person is to you and what the friendship could be and could look like. And a lot of people are scared of that, so they return to home base, not in the sense that they touch base with a person in being nostalgic or remembering times past, but they're worried that it will never be as good as it was when you started out on this journey of loving someone more. Like, when you love somebody and it changes them, it changes you too, in ways that you might not even realize that you're being changed. But that's what love does. It grows you, and growth means change, and you have to allow the other person, and more importantly, allow yourself to become more of yourself or more of the other person by changing, by being different. In Beautiful World, Where Are You? I don't remember the quote anymore, but there's a really awesome quote in the book about, the book's by Sally Rooney, by the way. That's why I recommend Sally Rooney so much. And anyways, I'll give a whole review on it one day. But she writes about the fact that we become less of ourselves the more we try and conserve things from our past and try to always stay that way forever. We actually become less of ourselves. And I believe firmly that friendships are meant to take you to places and times and levels of your life that you've never been before. If the more enriching it is, the deeper it goes, and the places you go, etc., etc. But the important part is to remain consistent in the fact that you love them. How you love someone, as they change, as you change, will also change. But you have to remain consistent in the fact that you love them and that you are loving them. Examples from my life recently, and I will be shouting out my friends, so if I shout out your name, hi. So I have a friend named Rosie that I met in a group of girls last year, and it was the first time I'd been in an all-girls group and felt really safe and able to be myself and be friendly, because I didn't grow up in all-girlfriend groups, so it was beautiful. And Rosie and I ended up becoming quite close out of all of these friends. As of this year, as soon as I came back from my trip to North America, I called her first, and she told me she was thinking about me, but she, something in her, I guess she forgot to call, or like she was afraid to call first. And so I was like, well, it's totally fine. Let me call you first, taking that first step. So we ended up hanging out. First time we went to Riverside Market and just bought some like cheap snacks and had a little picnic by the river and yapped a lot, and then we got ice cream, and this was all done pretty spontaneously. Like I think we planned what day to go, but we didn't know what we were doing, where we were going. We didn't even know if the weather was going to be great that day, but it eventually was for us. And at the start of this week, we went to the beach, and that one I literally just messaged her, I think, a day or 2 days before, because I realized that the weather on Monday was going to be, the highest was going to be 26 degrees or 27 degrees, and it was going to be a time that both of us were going to be free. And so I was like, do you want to go to the beach? Because I remembered that she had told me that she hadn't gone swimming all summer because it was so rainy here in Christchurch. And I was like, there was a perfect opportunity to go to the beach, and I wanted to go to the beach because I'd been in a winter wonderland for ages. So we did. We just planned it within an evening, and we planned what we were bringing basically in the same morning. And yeah, just to show that not to be scared of spontaneity, because oftentimes short-term plans may actually end up getting out of the group chat a lot sooner than long-term plans. I noticed that we have very seasonally dependent locations for hangouts, because Rosie and I love spending time outdoors, which is great for me, because then she encourages me to get vitamin D while I'm also getting vitamin Rosie. And we're having a good yarn, and Rosie is such an awesome person to listen to and to be listened by. Whenever we're together, we try out new flavors of drinks or snacks that we hadn't been tried before. So, and she did say that one of her goals this year was to be a lot more spontaneous and hang out with different people more this year, and maintain friendships with people who encourage her to do more of that. And I'm very blessed that I'm one of those people. So shout out Rosie for really encouraging me to be outside more and try new foods, more new cheap snacks. Then there's Tahi, who's my best friend at NASDA. We're both busy bees who absolutely love being productive, so sometimes it's hard for us to hang out when it's not during the holidays. So we were very blessed to be able to schedule a time where we could hang out. And normally we just get coffee and chat, but then I said, hey, it's the start of the year. We are both looking forward to our last year of NASDA. We're both getting all our things in order before we start the school year, or start like really just getting into the grind of things. So I said, alongside coffee, do you want to have a 2026 vision board date where we basically we hang out, we have coffee, we have our laptops, and we make vision boards for 2026 and we get to talk to someone that we trust and that understands our struggles and our hopes and plans about in different areas of our lives. And so there it is with the shared life goals and sharing priorities. We were able to plan for our year together and have fun while we're at it. And I definitely want to foster more of those kind of hangouts with Tahi, because we get a lot of stuff done together. Like, we do our own stuff, but together, because we keep each other accountable, while also, occasionally going off on the side tangent. I say occasionally, but Tahi knows that I love a good side tangent. So there's that. I'm also I didn't expect to do a shout out to these two specifically, but they're gonna be in here. My two closest friends from LA, I went to LA, Kellen and Tyler. They're my girls. I love them to bits. I instantly hit it off with them when I met them, because they go to my cousin's church. I love them to bits, and it's hard being all the way across the ocean, but I try to embrace the little gap. I call either one of them every week. I think occasionally Kellen and I call twice a week, but that's been more often, more recently, and obviously it depends when they're busy or not, but it's really so nice that we get to call. I send them reels, and they send me reels that remind us of each other, and I have never played Roblox in my life, but Tyler said, do you want to play Roblox together on call one time? And I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll get Roblox for you, because that's how much I love you and how much I want to stay connected with you. I will have to learn how to play stuff on Roblox, but guys, that's what love does. That's what love does to you. And I prioritize my connection with them when I do go on my phone. So with the people that I see in real life, I normally just text them, hey, let's hang out at this time, and then I won't really message them much. But Kellen and Tyler, because I want to be intentional with them while being long distance, I do dedicate a lot of my time on my phone. Like when I turn on my phone and I use my phone, I purposefully use a chunk of that time to keep in touch with them. I don't have it written here, but I just remembered lately I saw my friends Alex and Jen, who they're staying in Dunedin, I believe, so I don't get to see them very often these days, but we finally organized a hangout where we all went to Jen's house and we all made drawings that we ended up making into stickers, and those drawings were like animals, but if the animals were us, like based on our vibes. And so I drew us three as birds, Alex drew us three as cats, and Jen drew us three as fish. Yeah, she made me a purple burlesque fish with burlesque legs, like the heels and the fishnet tights. It's really funny. And that was a really whimsical hangout, and the sun was out, so we ended up taking a break outside and just yapping and toasting our feet in the sun. And just having those friends who love creating things with you and are crafty as well really helps. Huge thing that I do want to put out there is I have a lot of creative friends because I'm a creative myself, and it's such a blessing to be surrounded by people who don't just want to create, but they want to create with me, because that's how I feel about all of my friends. I'm like, let's do something together. And I would highly recommend making stickers with and of each other in different formats as a way to increase your art skills as well as spend quality time. And then finally, my favorite example to give are my best friends Nikki and Ben. I can't even measure how long we've been friends, but I know it's only been like a year or two where we've really hit it off as a trio, and we're really intentional in being best friends with each other. And honestly, my standards have never been higher for friendship or for romance or any other kind of way that I've been loved or that I do love. They are the bar, and the bar is very high. Ben and I constantly text in every single app that we both have, like social media app or like texting app that we both have. Ben is the one that I message the most. Nikki and I, although we do message a lot as well, we love when we talk in person, our conversations are usually very lengthy and deep, and they go into detail, and so we found that we really like having an email correspondence. So yes, in this day and age, I still keep in touch with someone through email, but it's honestly really romantic because it's like it's sending a letter with the convenience of it being digital, and she's such a poetic person that when we write letters, it doesn't even feel like an email. It just feels like a beautiful handwritten letter just on my laptop. We regularly go on dates either with each other or with all three of us. I just love spending time with them, and lately I've also been more spontaneous. Like I think this the other week that I said, Ben, I'm not having a good day. I wasn't having a good week. I was like, I'm not having a good week. Is there a day that you're free? Let's just go outside and read in nature. So we just went to the Botanic Gardens and we read Dante's Inferno and gave our analysis on the spot. And I did film that. It was really nice just spending time with him outside, and had it spontaneously planned just because we wanted to spend time with each other, and I just wanted to pick me up and now Nikki and I are planning something. I don't know when we'll be able to do it because we're both so busy, but I'll clear my schedule for Nikki any day. We're always praying for each other and encouraging each other in our faith. We allow each other to keep each other accountable in praying and reading the Bible and in our relationships with one another and with other people. Accountability is really important to me in a friendship, and so Nikki and Ben are two of my best accountability partners in so many areas in life. I love running errands with friends. I think we should all, if there is something that you should take away from this, is that you should allow your friends to come with you while you run errands, because it shows them who you really are on a day-to-day basis. When you have a need or a task that you need to tick off, they get to see the real you, the stripped down version, kind of in a panic state you. I've also been learning how to ask them for help, which was a huge learning curve, and it still sometimes is, but I realize we really should be asking our best friends for help more. As a gift giver, I love making them gifts I know they'll like. I love buying them things. I pretty often buy hot drinks for them. I think that's the thing that I buy the most for them, hot drinks, or just drinks for them. And when we're just together, and it's just about being together, it's just being there and listening and holding space for them. And, constantly praying that I get to do that with them for as long as we're all alive. And look, lives always go on tangents and side quests, and whatever God's got planned for everyone's path, for all my friends' paths. I don't know, but I do know that the point of friendship is to always support them and remain in connection and contact with them, no matter the distance and no matter the circumstances. And to finish it off, I wrote down, when you tend to your friendships, it doesn't always become easier, but it definitely becomes much more enriching. Friendships can and should be the safest place for mutual growth that feeds into your individual journeys. The best friendships become the strongest and most beautiful threads in your life's tapestry. And yeah, I hope that there was something encouraging in there. There was something you could take away, because I've been yapping for 47 minutes and nearing 48 minutes now, and there should have been a pearl of wisdom in there somewhere. But yeah, just know that I'm not a perfect friend as I am right now, and my friends, as awesome as they are, they're not perfect people, and they're not always going to be perfect friends. But I believe that I am called to love my friends, always, through everything. It is one of the greatest forms of devotion in the world to be devoted to your friends. And we're not, as somebody who has friends, I'm definitely not looking for perfection. I'm looking for whimsy and sustainability, because that's what I want my friendships to look like. And lucky little me, that's what my friends seem to love about our friendships too. So same time in 2 weeks, guys. Welcome back to Ramblings again, and welcome for me as well, being back. Yeah, I can't wait till this becomes like a constant routine now. Next week I should probably have a bunch of clothes to fold, so you guys get encouraged to fold things too, or tidy whatever it is you need to tidy, just do a task together and ramble. Yeah, have an awesome week, and another week before I see you again. Bye.